Hello guys, animations can help you achieve a rich user experience while designing the user interface. We'll show you basic techniques of easily adjustable animations using CSS and JavaScript technologies. Some of them include how to make a sliding revealing menu, how to create a web page loader and wait for the page resources to load, how to replay animation when specific element is in the view, how to create a hamburger menu, a toggle button, and of course how to handle the start and end of animations using JavaScript. Alright guys, we'll start coding the hamburger menu, which will on click become a close button. So first let's set up our HTML. We'll use one div with a class of a hamburger. Inside we'll place 3 lines which will represent our icon. We'll be using a span for this and we'll type a class of line. We're having 3 of those, and that's basically our HTML for the whole hamburger menu. And then we can target each of the lines inside of the hamburger class and we'll give them a width of 3 rems and then some height of 0.3 rems. We'll give them background color of 3D 4146 and we would like to display them as block elements, and we see that each of the lines appeared next to each other. Then we'll give some margin to those lines, again 0.3 rems, and now we see all those lines within their respective margins here. Also for the corners here we would like them to be a little bit more rounded, so we'll give a border radius of 0.5 rems. Okay, this is the first position of the menu. Now we'll code the second position and we'll make transition between the 2 positions. We can target all those lines using the endChild CSS property. So we can type, for example, hamburger.line endChild, and if we go with index 1, we'll be targeting the first line here, or the top line displayed to the users. For the first line, we would like to rotate it 45 degrees clockwise, so we'll just type transform rotate 45 degrees, and we see that it moved 45 degrees. Now we'll fix the beginning of the line to be a little bit more lower, so we'll just go down with translate on the y coordinate and we'll give 0.6 rems. So this way we are moving this line into this position. Okay, this is the CSS property for the first line. For the third line, we can copy this CSS code and we would like the third line to be displayed counterclockwise on 45 degrees, and also we'll fix its position. So we'll just put one minus here, and this is for the third line. So we'll just type 3 as an index. And the next thing is we have to fix the y coordinate. So we see now it's a little bit down, so we'll move it up. So we'll type 1 minus, and this is almost finished the look of our close button. The only thing left is to remove this crossing line here. So we are targeting it with an endChild of 2, and then for this line we don't want to translate it, we would like to hide it from the user, so we will type opacity to 0, and this is our finishing position. So we have our starting and the finishing position of our lines. In order to trigger between those 2 positions, we'll use another class. So this class will be called active. Now we would like the second state to correspond to this class of active. So we'll just type hamburger.active here. And for the hamburger.active, only those CSS properties will be activated. So if we remove the active state, we see that the hamburger will get the initial position. If we again add this active class, it will have its second state. Once we have all those states coded, we can use our JavaScript and just type document query selector, and then we'll get our hamburger. So we're targeting the element with the class of hamburger. The moment users are clicking on our hamburger, we would like to run a function which will just trigger its active class. So we'll just type this class list toggle active. Also toggle checks if the active state is already present, it will remove it, and if it is not present, it will add it to the class list of our element. The next thing is just to prepare the normal HTML for the hamburger menu, so the first state. And once we have our JavaScript activated, when we click on the hamburger menu, it will have the second state activated. Then when we click again, it will resume its first position. And now we can, of course, make this transition more smooth. For this, we'll just use the property transition to our hamburger menu. So we'll just type transition. And for all the transitions, we would like them to be delayed with 0.3 seconds. And we'll be using easing of ease in out. This is just a way motion within our transition that we're using. So the moment we are changing between the different states, we'll see that the transitioning is happening very smoothly, and that's how you can make your own hamburger menu. Okay, this time we'll see how to show something to the users before the actual loading of our content. For this, I've created one image, and before it's loaded, we see loading, and then the image is shown and the loading sign disappears. So let's see how we can do this with the help of CSS and JavaScript. So first, here is our example image. We place it inside of image source tag. Then we would like div with a class of text, which will hold our loading message. And now we'll write the CSS for displaying the loading text. So for the text, we'll just like to align it center. So we'll type text line center, and then we'll increase its font size. After the text, we would like to have some dots. So we'll type text after. We can add this property to add additional information to our text here. So for the content, we'll type just a little dot, and we see it appears here on the bottom. And then we will have an animation, and then the name of the animation, let's say it will be dots. We would like it to appear for 2.5 seconds and to be with linear motion and to repeat itself. Okay, after this, we'll have to specify our actual animation. So the animation will be using keyframes. Just type keyframes and the name of the animation dots. And we would like, for example, for the 20%, our content to change to 2 dots. If we remove for just a little bit the photo, we can see that the loading sign is moving. Then we'll specify for 40, 60 and 80%, increasing those dots. So just copy this rule and increase the dots for 40, 60 and 80% each time with a new dot. And with this technique, we achieved this loading with moving dots afterwards. We'll restore the photo here and we'll create one new class, hidden, and it will be just display of known. And in the JavaScript, we would like to set this class to our loading div when the photo is already loaded by the browser. For this, we'll add an event listener to the onload function of the window. So we'll just type add event listener, and to the load event, we'll start a new function when this event happens. So inside of this new function, we'll just like to select the text. So we'll type document query selector, then we'll grab the element with the class of text. So this is our loading text, and to its class list we'll just add the class of hidden. This way, if we refresh our code, first we see the loading and then the photo appears afterwards, and that's how we achieve this effect. So if you have a lot of resources on your page, by capturing the onload event, you can display to the users some greeting while your page is loading on behind, and then just hide the greeting until everything is ready, and users will be much happier to see the complete version of your page loaded at once. Alright guys, for the next example, we'll see how we can achieve this toggle checkbox. So first we'll create our HTML. We'll type one input with a type of checkbox. Then we'll give it an ID of toggle. Then we'll type one label. It will be for the input with the ID of toggle, so it will be for the toggle, and it will be empty. For the styling, we'll place this element at the center of the screen. We'll use flexbox to display the elements centered horizontally and vertically. So we'll style the body tag, we'll type display flex, and then we would like to align items, to align them vertically center, and to justify content, again center. This is for the horizontal alignment. Also, we would like to give a certain height in order for flexbox to know how to center vertically the element. So we'll give height the maximum or the 100% of the viewport height. Okay, now the checkbox is centered in the middle. We would like to hide our checkbox for now. So we'll target the input tag with the type of checkbox, and we'll give a display to none. So now we'll be targeting the label, and we'll create our toggle button on top of it. For this, we'll just type label, and we'll give a width of 10 rems and a height of 5 rems, and we'll give a background color silver, and the border radius will be 2.5 rems. Okay, so this will be the background of our slider. Now we can use the property of before or after the label. So we can type label, let's say after, and then inside we can place our little button. So we will just type content equals to empty, and then we'll give position absolute, and we'll give a background color of white. We'll give 0.5 rems from the top offset, and then from the left the same offset. For the width, we'll give 4 rems, and for the height, let's say again 4 rems. In order for this absolute element to appear within our label, we have to style the label with the position of relative. As long as we're doing this, we see our slider control knob is appearing on the screen. We can make a little bit rounded corners. So we will just type border radius of 50%, and this is our slider up so far. Now we'll style the checked state when we are clicking on it, how we would like it to appear. We'll target the input checked state via CSS, and then because the label is in the HTML directly below the input, we can target this label by typing plus, so it's a descendant sibling of the input, and now we can type label, and we can target this after state. So the whole rule will be triggered when we click on our input, but we would like to change only the inner circle, so that's why we are targeting the label after property, which we created just right now, and would like it to move horizontally. So we'll type transform, and we'll translate it by x coordinate, and we'll give 5 rems for the translation, and we'll change its background color to silver. So when we click on the element, okay, let's change the color to green for now, just to see it's moving and to its position. And again, it switches here. Also, for the transition to happen more smoothly, we will have to go to the initial state of the label and just give it transition all, and we'll give it 0.4 seconds of delay, and we'll be using ease out, easing. So this way, when we click, we see that the transition is happening more smoothly between the two states of the button. Also, we would like when our input is clicked, so we'll target input checked state, the label or this whole box here to become with background color of gray, and here we'll restore the silver color of the knob. So let's see how the slider performs, and as you can see, we have a nice slider which you can use in your JavaScript project. Alright guys, this time we'll be making sliding from left to right a menu. So we'll have special icon which will trigger the showing and hiding of our menu, and also we'll have a closing button so our content will be displayed fully. So let's see how we can code this with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Well, first we'll start typing our initial div for navigation. It will be ID of menu icon, and inside we'll have one div with the ID of menu line. So nothing fancy up so far. We're closing both of the divs. So for the CSS, for the menu icon. First we'll give some padding of 1.25 rem, 0.5 rem, and again the same 0.5 rem. And then we'll position it absolute, and we'll give background color of 6A1B9A. Since it's positioned absolute, we would like to keep it on the right side, so we'll give 0 coordinate to the right. Okay, so we see our menu here. Now inside of this box, we would like to create 3 white lines. So that's why we'll target this idea of menu line in our CSS. So we'll type menu line, and also we'll want to target the 2 properties of after and before of the menu line. So we can have the 3 lines, I call it separately. So menu line before, and menu line after we would like to target. For them, we'll give them a height of 0.3 rems and a width of 2.5 rems, and we would like to give a background color of white. So we see all the 3 lines appeared as one, so we'll need to correct the after and the before rules. We'll position the after rule absolute. We'll type position absolute, and it will give a little margin on top for this upper line. So we'll type margin top of 0.75 rems. This should display our line, and also we need to have content inside for those rules before and after in order to have something displayed on the screen. So as long as we added content, we see after effect. Once we have the after rule, we can use the before rule in the same way. So we type here before, but here the margin will be minus. This way we will achieve the 3rd line in our menu. Also, we would like, once when we are on our menu with the mouse over, our cursor to change to pointer. So we will type menu icon H over, and then we will type cursor pointer, and this way you see how it becomes clickable. Okay, once we have this icon, let's continue with the HTML of the main menu. We will give it a div with the ID of main menu, and then we'll close this div, and inside we'll place an unordered list with the following list items: home, about, services, and contact. So these will be the items in our menu. And once we have this structure, we would like also to have a button for closing our menu. So we'll add one span element with a class of close, and this will be our closing element. So that's for now the menu. And now we are going to style this element. So we go to the CSS, we target the main menu. First off, we would like to give it width and height. So we'll give it a width of 15 rems and height of the whole viewport, so 100 viewport height. And we'll give a background color of 18181818. This so far is our menu. So now it's time to style the UL elements inside the main menu. For this we will type main menu UL, and then we'll just remove the dots from them. So we will type list style type to none, and then we'll remove the padding and the margin, which are default added to the UL elements. We need this for the positioning of the menu items. Also, we will give a color to our menu items of white. We will need to style the LI elements, main menu, LI. Inside we can give a little bit of margin to those elements, so we'll give them 2 rem margin, and then a little bit of border to the bottom of 0.3 rems, so it will be solid and transparent. This we would like to have in order when we edge over the items to appear one smooth border below them. We can style this rule. First, we target the main menu, the LI items, and when we are pointing with the mouse on them, we would like first off the cursor to be pointer, and then the border color to be white. Okay, with those rules, we see that we have the border below the links appearing nice, and we can make it to appear even more smooth by using the transition property. So we are basically saying that this transition of the border from transparent to white in 0.5 seconds, and this is the effect of this transition. So next we are trying to style this little X here, or the close button. We can target it specifically by typing main menu and then the class close. So for the close class we will give a width and height of 2 rems, and we'll give a font size of 1.5 rem, and then we'll give some color of white and background color of 6a, 1b, 9a. We'll give a little bit of border radius of 50%. For now, this is the styling of the close button. Also, we would like, when we are pointing with the mouse on it, the cursor to change. So we'll just type close H over cursor, the pointer. Yeah, we see our cursor is changing nicely. Then the next thing we would like to do is to style the whole body of the document. For this we'll just type body margin of 0, and so our menu will stick to the left side, and then we'll give font size, let's say 35 pixels, and we'll give a font family of sans serif. Okay, and now we also would like to have all those items arranged and centered. So we go to the styling of the main menu. We would like to be displayed in a flex box mode. So we'll type display flex, and then we'll say that the flex direction is the column. And also we would like to align our items horizontally and vertically. So we'll type align items center, then justify content center, and of course text align center. This is the effect we are having right now about our menu. It looks very nice. Now, in order to appear this menu, first we will have to hide it off screen. So for this we will just type transform, translate X, and we'll give -30 rems for this menu. So right now it's off screen here on the left, and we'll give a special class of open to this main menu. So as long as it has this class, we'll return it back. This means that we'll use the same line here, but instead of giving this negative property of the X coordinate, we'll just return it with a 0. Once we are having this class, our menu will return. We can try this. We'll just add a class open to our div, and we'll see that our menu returns here. Okay, so now we will need to trigger the showing of our menu. For this we'll use JavaScript. So in the JavaScript we'll get a reference to our main menu. So it will be document, query selector, and we'll get our main menu inside. Then we would like, when we click on the menu icon, to start this function, which will open our big menu, or it will just add a class of open to it. So we'll just type main menu, class list, let's say toggle, and the class will be open. So with this code, when we click on the icon, we see the menu appears, and again when we click outside of it, we see that it disappears. One more thing to add here is the ability to have a smoother transition between the states of the menu. For this we will just type inside of the main menu that transition all 0.5 seconds is in and out. So this way, when we click on the icon, we see how smoothly the menu appears and then disappears. One thing left is to add the functionality to the X button here. So in the JavaScript, we'll just type document, query selector, and we'll grab the main menu again, but this time it's closed element. And then on click, we'll start running a function. And inside of this function, it will have the goal to remove the class of open from our menu. So we'll just type main menu, class list, remove, and the class name we would like to remove. So it's ready to test the code. When we click on the X, we see that the menu is being removed, and we can show it and remove it with this button too. It's interesting to know when certain animation or transition has been finished. We will demonstrate how here we have one circle, and when we click on the button, we receive a notification that animation is ended and transition is ended, because we've put both animation and transition to this element. Let's see how we can achieve this functionality. So first off, in the HTML, we'll create our button. We'll just type button ID of button, and we will type press me inside. Then we'll have our element below with the ID of LM. Okay, to the styles, we'll style our element by giving it a background color, orange. Then we'll give a width of 100 pixels and a height of 100 pixels to the element. And we'll give a border radius of 50% to make it look like a circle, 50%. Okay, now the element is ready, and we would like to code its transitions and animations. So let's code the transition first. We would like to target our element, and then let's say the transition will be having a class of a show. So we would like to move the element. So we use transform and we will translate it by Higgs translate x 300 pixels, and then we'll make the transition smooth. So we'll type transition all to target all the transformations we're making to the object, and we'll delay the transition with 1 second, and we'll be using easing. So this is our transition. The moment our element has an additional class added to the element of show, it will translate itself 300 pixels away from the 0x coordinate. Okay, so how can we add this class to the element dynamically? We'll use JavaScript. Okay, so let's code the functionality for adding this show class to our element. First, we'll get reference to our button. We'll type var button equals to document query selector, and we'll give the reference to our button, which is with the ID of btn. So we can add the event listener to listen for the click of our user. So we'll type button.add event listener, and we are listening for the click, and then we'll be running a function. Inside of this function, let's say for now, we'll alert something to the user, alert hi. So with this code, when we click on the button, we see that we are intercepting the click and alerting something to the user. Now we will change the functionality of the button, and we will just like to add to this element the class of show in order to run our animation. For this, we will just need another reference to the element. We can copy the same line here and change a little bit of variables. Let's say this will be our element, and we'll grab it here with the ID of lm, and then we can use this variable lm.class list, and we can add to it the class of show, or even we can use the toggle function. When we press on the button, we see the animation goes. Here we can correct the easing to be more smooth. So when we press the button, we see the animation runs correctly. And when we press again, this class of show is removed, so the element returns to its initial position. Alright, so how we can know when this transition is ended? We can add another event listener, but this time not to the button, but to the actual element performing the transition. And when it's ended, we can alert something to the user. We already have a reference to this element, and we'll use it right now. So we'll type element.add event listener, and inside we'll use a special event we are going to listen on, and this is called transition end. When this event happens, we would like to run a function. We'll just type to the user that transition is ended. So transition ended. When we run our code, we see that after the animation or the transition finished, we have a notification that the transition has been finished. We can apply the same technique to animations. So the animations can use complex transitions inside. So let's create our simple animation. We're again targeting our element, and we'll add to it a class of animate, and the animation will be called my opacity. It will be running a total of 1 second. And now to write this animation called my opacity, so we type keyframes my opacity, and inside we would like at the beginning of animation our element to be hidden, so we type opacity of 0, and then at 100% we would like the opacity to be 1, so the element to be shown. So we have this my opacity animation, which is keyframe based. We can also add different percentage or more keyframes here to change the opacity more smoothly. Now we check how it will run when we have this class here. So we'll just add class of animate to our element. We forgot one S to the keyframes. So we see that our element appears smoothly. So the animation works. Again, like the previous case, we have to add this class dynamically via JavaScript. So we can just copy the code from the previous event handler and we paste the code. This time we would like to toggle the class animate. So when we press the button, we see our previous code running transition end. For now, we'll comment the code. Next, we are interested when this animation finishes. We can use the same code as before from the transition element, but this time we will not catch the transition end, but animation end event. So we change a little bit the event listener and we type animation end. So the moment we press on our button and the animation finished, we see our notification that animation has been ended. If we uncomment the previous event handlers and run a complex animation plus transition, the moment it finished running, we see animation ended and transition ended. So now we have more flexible way of controlling our animations via those events. Alright guys, for the next animation, we see that it slides in from the sides to the center, and every time we are off the screen, we see that the animation restarts itself. So we'll see how to do this. First, let's take a look at the HTML and CSS properties of the animation to see how it's done. We have added a little bit of white space before and after the animation. This is this div with the ID of scroll, and we've put random height in order to have this white space and then to demonstrate the animation running. This animation is actually a flex container, so we have two elements inside. We have this text here and then this phone as an image. We have centered the items and we have used the justify content space between, so the initial position of the elements is somewhere off the screen, and then we use animation for those elements, and this is actually the animation of the first and the second element. We are just translating them over the x coordinate, so we are moving the text towards the center and the phone also towards the center. Okay, so this is the initial position of the elements. As long as they have class added of animate, we see that they will move. The text moves to the center, and then for the phone, if you add animate class to it, we'll see the finished state of the animation here. And so we'll be using JavaScript to add those states automatically. For this, we'll just need to grab the images we would like to animate. So we can just type var images equals to document query selector, and because we have two images here or two elements, we'll just use query selector all to grab all the elements within the class of animate me. So we'll be grabbing those two elements, so the phone and hello, and download to our app. Once we have them, we would like to observe them. We can write images for each, and in this variable we would like to observe them via a special observer. So we'll type observer, observe, and we would like to observe this image variable here. And now it's time to write the actual observer. So we'll be using the intersection observer API. Observer equals to new intersection observer, and then we would like to write what to do with each of the entries we are observing. As long as those entries enter the screen, we would like to add the class of animate, and if they are off the screen, we will remove the animate from them. With all the entries we are passing to this function for each of those entries. If they are in our view, so we will type if entry intersection ratio greater than 0, then we can alert into view. And it's important to place actually our code after writing the intersection observer. So this way, when we scroll into view, we see that our element is already into view and it's showing. So we have this notification displayed, and actually the code we would like to write is just for the entry target, which is our element. So we can write entry target class list, and we will add the class of animate. So this way, when we scroll into view, we will see that the animation happens. But now we see that when we are out of the view, the animation is not removed. So we will just write a simple else case, and we'll copy this here and we'll type remove. So in other cases, the animation will be removed. And let's try the code. We see that we are in view and the animation is showing up. When we are out of view, the animation should restart and then again should show up. So that's it for now. You can use this intersection observer to know when the user is actually looking at your animations or certain element and perform actions based on this.